Welcome back to another edition of Facebook Live. We've got a shop update here. Phil is on vacation. Otherwise, I think we'll probably jump right into it. We've got a couple of projects that got wrapped up last week, and I think we were absent last week too, so we've got a little bit of catching up to. But I think what we're going to do is start with Marc.
Hey everyone, so I've got wrapped up earlier in the week with the Dillon designed Waterfall Nightstand, so we'll go and talk about that in a sec. In the meantime, I'm between projects, which is a good time to catch up on some shop maintenance and clean up. If you've been checking in the past, I've been working on the dust collection system, basically modifying all the ductwork to make it run more efficiently. I've been going around from station to station, modifying each individual machine to get its full capacity with the dust collection. So the only thing I had left was over at the dado saw. So I finally changed this around yesterday. I'm not sure if you've ever noticed or remember, this section was quite the cluster with the ductwork. So I moved some machines around. The table saw was originally over here. Moved it over here so I could get into this main trunk work of duct, so it just comes straight down and straight into the machine rather than having to use flexible duct, which is not particularly good or efficient. So changed that out yesterday, and I came up with a different idea for dust collection on the spindle sander. The dust collection for this normally would suck from the port that's at the back and the bottom, which doesn't really do a great job. So I've got another system which would suck directly off the table into here, which works pretty well. So I've got two different options there for dust collection on that, because usually it makes a pretty big mess. So I think I'm all wrapped up with this whole system. So I'm going to be working in the wood rack for the rest of the day, changing some stuff around there to make it a little bit bigger for storage. So let's go in and take a look at the nightstand that I've got wrapped up. And we're going to have to scoot Steve out of the way. We're going to have to rock him out of the way. So if you remember last week, I was in the process of cutting or figuring out what the best tool to use to cut these individual veneers. Originally I tried just a razor knife. That wasn't working too well, because every time I'd score it, it would pull the corner off. Reason being, if you look at these, the way they're orientated, so when I was cutting, because they're on a 45-degree angle, each cut I'd make, it would just rip off a corner, so that wasn't going to happen. So I needed to come up with a different idea, a different way of cutting it. So now we've got a veneer saw. The veneer saw wasn't really helping me out, so we ended up using a leather cutting wheel that was working pretty well. So once all these individual pieces were cut, they were taped together and then they were glued to the MDF substrate, and then we put an edge banding around the MDF and then veneered the back, and then that was all done. So we've got solid walnut sides here. This was a veneer top which followed the form that I built. The skirting's solid walnut. So happy how it turned out. It's a different piece, and loving all the different grain patterns of the walnut. So that is that. So on to the next project, which is an architect's table that Dillon will get me the plans for sometime today. So over to Steve.
Just doing some product testing.
Hey everybody, I'm testing the product I just finished. It's a Maloof rocker in cherry. If you're familiar with Sam Maloof, he was kind of famous for his rocking chairs. They had a lot of curves to them. This is close to a Maloof, but we simplified it a little bit. But having said that, there's still an awful lot of angles in this project. For instance, the seat is splayed at 5 degrees. The legs, front and back, are splayed at the bottom 3 degrees. So these legs fit into a mortise, front and back, but that mortise has to be 3 degrees canted inward. And then the shoulders on the legs have to be canted 3 degrees. So there's quite a bit of angles on this. The splats are mortised and tenon in. This is all mortise and tenon. These are dowel joints, a lot like a Maloof, and we're doweled into here, and where the feet go into the rocker proper. The seat was sculpted out. You can carve that. We used a power tool to sculpt most of that out. And you just do that by eye. As far as all the other parts, I made full-size templates, printed them out, taped them together, double-checked the length, and went from there, because there's so many angles. There's hardly a straight piece on this thing. So, but all in all, it's pretty comfortable and it rocks good. So we used a traditional cherry stain from Varathane and a couple coats of lacquer. So if you want to build it, it'll be fun.
All right. Thank
Thanks.
you.
All right, well, I don't have anything printed off right now, so I guess we'll do a little tour of the office again. Marc kind of alluded to this during his segment. And I think a couple weeks ago, I had showed a little bit of this off, maybe the main carcass. So some decisions have been made, or final decisions have been made. It always seems, or it never fails, that something else will come up kind of during the building process, but that's why we build everything first. This is an architect's or a drafting cabinet. Typically the drawers would hold, blueprints, drafting tools, but mainly was a way of organizing all of the basically renderings that architects or engineers would use prior to having digital technology like we do now. So that was the main source of inspiration. I did make some minor tweaks. I kind of stuck with the industrial look. I've got these cast iron casters I ordered. I'm realizing now that they're over by Marc's desk, so maybe we'll take a look at those next week when he's in the process of building it. Otherwise, I've got some handles on the way. The top is something that I added. A lot of these will just have a series of drawers and they'll just kind of have a flat top. However, I wanted to add something that made it a little more functional. These things are wide and very deep, and so I wanted to kind of utilize the space that was on the top rather than just having to be storage, which is a valid use of a cabinet, but certainly adding something a little extra it can be nice, especially in a shop where space is definitely at a premium. So I added this separate top here that have these extension arms that kind of fit into I can't remember if it's a 7 or 14 degree dovetail that they slide on there, and then I've got a series of holes that just are my incremental adjustments for height. I think the full height of this thing when you have it jacked up all the way is around, I want to say like 43 or 44 inches, which is pretty tall. If you're someone that's closer to 5'10", 6 foot, that's a good, I think, standing height. Otherwise you have a lot of adjustability below that too. So there's also the option of not adding this. I think that's something that's overlooked a lot of times in our magazine. Of course, we design these projects, but we always encourage people to kind of fit them to their specific needs. So if you were to not add the top, you would just not do these recesses on the side that accommodate the adjustable arms, and then it would just be basically a 6-drawer cabinet, which is also fine. So the material for this, we are using riffs on white oak. I beefed up the sides a little bit to accommodate the recess for the arms, so those are 1 inch thick. All of my horizontal dividers in top and bottom are 3/4. That was, again, more of a standard size for casework, weight, and then I also just kind of like the visual contrast between the thicker sides and the thinner horizontal dividers. And then lastly, on the top here, I'm probably going to do a piece of laminate of some sort. I haven't quite decided what, just so it's a nice flat surface for doing some sketching. A lot of times I'll just write random dimensions down so I can remember them. Otherwise, laminate's also really great for glue ups. So if you're doing smaller glue ups, this can function just like a glue up or kind of assembly table, which is really nice too. So I will have drawings wrapped up for this. Marc will probably start on it tomorrow. Materials are on their way. Otherwise, next week I'll probably have another project wrapped up in the computer we can take a look at. I've got a coffee center for a shop, which we drink a lot of coffee around here. Never fails. There's probably a couple pots going today, so we'll have something that, again, you could probably stick a mini fridge in, has maybe a little bit of storage below. You could put a coffee maker in there and then have it closed off a little bit so it's not just collecting dust in those areas. But that's the next project I'll be working on, and then we've got some other ones too, but I think I'll probably put my focus there. I think that's it for this week, so thanks for joining us, and we'll be back here at the same time on Thursday. Bye, everybody.